Hello comrades, Commissar Bro here today with incredible news, something I'm incredibly ecstatic about. Today on the Total War YouTube channel, Creative Assembly released that they are going to allow the Chaos Warrior DLC to be free for the first week of launch. A lot of you are probably like, but that's not what I wanted. A lot of other people who maybe if you've already pre-ordered the game, you feel like you've been gypped. I can see both sides, but personally I'd like to explain why I think this is a great thing for everybody involved. Honestly, it really is. Because SEGA, you know, the person who's actually publishing the Total War Warhammer game, who is undoubtedly in control of the pricing, the marketing, how the DLC gets released, so on and so forth, is notorious for basically mismanaging IPs and products in a fashion that one would be... It would be hard to say they know what they're doing, at least viewing from the consumer point of view. Now, obviously, they're still in business, so they must be doing something right. But realistically speaking, again, to us, the consumer, it looks like it's being mismanaged, mishandled. They're notorious for not compromising, ignoring petitions, and so on and so forth. Look at Total Biscuit. The number one, pretty much, let's be honest here, he gives himself the title, but he's pretty much the number one PC gaming critic. Has been boycotting them for what, 2 or 3 years now? And they still refuse to send this dude an apology, even though he could sell them so many games. Like, I mean, to me, that's just ridiculous. This is a guy with like 3 million subscribers who every one of his videos generates 500,000 views, who carries a very, very prominent opinion. But anyway, it goes to show, you know, that they're notorious for unapologetic behavior and for, you know, when they make a bad decision or something, not really doubling back. They don't double back and go and apologize or whatever. They just move on. Now, in this case, for months, the Total War community, not everyone, but a pretty large portion based on the dislikes that each one of the Total War videos have been getting on their YouTube channel. But it goes to show that a large majority of Total War players have been pissed about the Chaos Warrior pre-order bonus. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I'll give you a quick explanation of what's actually going on. A few months ago, I think back in October or something like that, the Creative Assembly released that they were going to allow the Chaos Warriors, a major faction, come on, it's Chaos. Chaos is a major faction in the Warhammer universe. And they were going to be making that a pre-order bonus. If you wanted the full faction, but you don't like to pre-order, you would have to pay for the Chaos Warriors. This led to a major uproar from fans. And SEGA, one would argue, that has been kind of throwing the whole Chaos Warrior pre-order bonus thing in people's faces by putting it in almost every single video at the end of videos, despite the fact that the consumers, a majority of consumers, well, I won't say a majority, but a large number of consumers were very vocal and active that this was not right. Now again, there's still a large number of Total War players who didn't care either way, which is absolutely true. But if you look at the Chaos Warrior announcement video, I think that alone says volumes about how people felt about this announcement. Now, it's April 29th, and it has seemed like for many months that SEGA was just going to allow this to happen. Personally, I was actually myself questioning whether I was going to buy this game at all. Now, I decided that I'm probably going to buy it on release, but I still absolutely refuse to pre-order. If I want the Chaos Warriors that bad, I'll just have to wait till they go on sale. Now, with this in mind, this has brought back a lot of my consumer confidence. Because SEGA, in my opinion, has done a wonderful job at wrecking a lot of my favorite strategy art like IPs. Again, the Total War series, how Rome 2 was completely mishandled at launch. Absolutely, positively, I don't care what anyone says. That game was butchered at launch, and it was not finished, and it should not have been released. Whether that was the Creative Assembly's fault or Sega's fault, I somehow feel like it's the publisher rushing due dates. But what do I know? And then Total War Attila, with its absolutely horrendous DLC policies, and even just both of those games, releasing factions that were already in the game and releasing packs so that you'd have to pay for just to be able to pay the stuff, but it was finished at launch. Now, whether you think the Chaos Warrior DLC is worth paying for, or whether it should have been free to begin with, you know what? We all have our opinions on it, and I don't mean to force my opinion on you, the viewer. But, in my opinion, I do think that the excuse they gave us for the Chaos Warriors deal as being a pre-order bonus was total nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And I think that it was used as a way to just kind of, you know, say, hey, look, this is out of our hands. You know, we got to make money. Look, we got to plead. It's the plead. Now, I'm cool with that, but you know what you should do, in my opinion? If you want me to pay more money for your game, raise the price of your game to reflect that. I get that. Inflation has gone up since the 90s, since the 80s. So with that in mind, a $60 game should be worth much more now, roughly $120. If you want to charge $100 for your Total War game, but I don't have to pay for any DLC, I get a 100% finished product, by God, I will pay for that. But that's not what you're providing me, and as such, you know. But again, that's another discussion for another time. Back to the important part of this video, and I know I've been ranting and going off, but the important part of this video is the fact that Creative Assembly and SEGA listened. They compromised. And this is a huge, huge victory for consumers, especially when dealing with a company like SEGA, who again is notorious for being uncompromising. This means that our voice can actually be heard. That we are speaking with our wallets, because remember, you, the consumer, pay for this stuff. So, if the game is bad, and we paid for it, and the game before that was bad, and we paid for that, and we bought all the DLC, all we're doing is supporting bad habits. But this has proved that enough people were like, no, I'm not going to buy this game, I'm not going to pre-order, that Sega realized we need to win back consumer confidence, which I believe they have done. It shows they're willing to compromise, that they understand that it is the consumer that pays the salary, that pays for the development of the game, that keeps these companies running. It is the consumer. It is you. So, with that in mind, this is, to me, in my mind, a big deal. Because it shows that if the community rallies behind an idea, that eventually, even if it takes a little while, if the idea does not burn out and the community sticks with it and keeps pushing as hard as they can to get something and to demand something, that the company is going to listen. That they will be heard, and at least if they don't get all of what they want, they will get a concession of what they want, which honestly, to this degree, I believe 100% we got. Because I believe that many of the people who are complaining about this pre-order deal were people who were already going to buy the game to begin with. This isn't people who weren't going to buy the game at all. This is people who had full intentions to pay $50, $60, well, yeah, $60 for this game. But when they saw that Chaos, a major faction in Warhammer, was being left behind a pay gate, or a pre-order gate in this case, they were upset. I was one of those people. So, needless to say, I believe this is a great move. I believe this is a great compromise. This literally fixes the problem that I had personally, because I was going to buy this game. I wasn't going to pre-order it. I might have pre-ordered it had they not thrown out the pre-order bonus nonsense. If they had made Bretonia a pre-order bonus faction, if that had been their initial release pre-order bonus faction, and then said somebody else, like, I don't know, not the Skaven. The Skaven are still kind of important, but they won't have an importance to this particular thing. But like the Tomb Kings or something like that, or the Chaos Dwarves. You know, people who maybe at one point, depending on what you're looking at time-wise in the Warhammer lore, had a major effect on it. But Chaos is a never-ending source of turmoil in the Warhammer universe. So trying to say that you can only play one of the biggest factions in the entire universe if you pre-order the game or you wait for it to come out and then you pay for it that way is kind of a dick move. So, needless to say, I think this is a great thing. I kind of wish that they would do the Blood and Gore DLC like this, because let's be honest, there will be a Blood and Gore DLC, and it will cost at least $4.99. I guarantee it. And even then, it'll probably be more expensive because they'll probably say the Blood and Gore is textured onto each model, and we have hundreds of different models in this game, and as such, we've had to make unique blood effects for every single one of these units. So realistically speaking, we're probably looking at the Blood and Gore DLC being somewhere around $7.99. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. But needless to say, this is kind of like my open letter saying to SEGA and Creative Assembly, I am so happy that you guys compromised. This means a lot to me as a consumer. This shows that you are at least listening to consumers, that you at least have an idea of what we're talking about, of what we've been complaining about, of what we want to see in our games. That shows they are listening, and that is a good thing. Anyway, this has been Commissar Bro. If you'd like to see the actual Let's Play of this video with the developer commentary, I will have it linked in the description for you guys to see. I honestly recommend Total War Warhammer now. Like, just if you were kind of skeptical before, I definitely kind of recommend you at least take a look at it now, because it's looking really good and this battle looked great. I can't wait for release. This has been CB, and I'll see you next time.